Happy Thursday, and welcome to this episode of Tech Bites by Veeam. We've switched it up. We have been absent for a bit, but we're back. And I'm joined with one of the go-tos on the team. Good day, Kirsten. How are you?
Hey Rick, I'm doing great. I'm glad to be back. It's been a little bit of a hiatus, but we've had so much going on here as well. So I know we had Veeam update just a couple weeks ago. That was, that was a lot of fun. We talked a lot about V12, which is coming soon, and we're going to even be talking about that today. So I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, indeed. So we did have a big break. We're already people tuning in from Tampa, another individual from Ohio, and Kadeep is coming in from India. Let us know where you're from. Kirsten and I both are tuning in from Central Ohio. We've got one of our producers in Massachusetts, one of our producers in Romania. Global team, global reach, but we're doing it for you. So let us know in the chat where you are from. And I believe we're multicasting across LinkedIn and a couple other networks, YouTube, Twitter as well, maybe even Facebook. I don't know. I can't keep up. I'm watching the YouTube feed. I'll give you a like, Michael G from Indianapolis. My sister lives there. So, Kirsten, what are we going to talk about here today?
So today we're talking about one of the most anticipated features coming in version 12, which is direct to object storage. I know our customers have been asking for this, and I'm excited to talk more about it, show a little bit of it in the lab, and yeah, just continue talking about it. I know you love talking about this feature, Rick. You talk about it all the time.
Uh, all the time. I did just yesterday. I'll do it today. I'll probably do it tomorrow as well. But direct to object storage backups is a capability part of V12. But let's first of all say, what is V12, Kirsten?
Yeah, so V12 is more than just the Veeam backup and replication. A lot of the times we talk about new versions coming, we're really focused on Veeam backup and replication because backup and replicating data is important. But V12 has Veeam 1 and also Veeam Disaster Recovery Orchestrator. And you know me, I could talk about Veeam 1 all day, every day. And I'm really excited for the Veeam 1 release. We have more immutability visibility. We have more protected workloads in the cloud visibility there. And then with Veeam Disaster Recovery Orchestrator, oh my gosh, like the features that are coming in this next version are awesome. And I know we talked about that in the Veeam update, but Rick, aren't you excited about Veeam Disaster Recovery Orchestrator, the next version?
Yeah, you bring up a really good point there, Kirsten. The Veeam Disaster Recovery Orchestrator, I think this will be version 6 or 7. I can't remember the version. The next version of Orchestrator is going to bring in three key new capabilities built on the primitives that we know. It's going to be able to have clean DR, which will use our secure restore capability in an orchestrated manner. Cloud DR, which will take agents and restore, or take anything and restore them to Azure. And then agent DR, which will allow not just virtual machines, but also the agents to be orchestrated for those experiences with Veeam, and you can combine those together. So just start thinking about that. And yeah, we did talk at length about that at Veeam Update. And if you haven't watched Veeam Update, I did ask the producer, maybe they're going to push a link out here so that you can get that Veeam Update replay. You can still do that, I believe. So we'll see. But anyways, yeah, the V12 is more than just backup and replication, and we're really stoked about it. And specifically with V12, there's a lot of top level benefits that come down. But in the end, Kirsten, you and I are product people. We love to play with the product. So at the end, we're going to finish strong here with a demo. But, I think that organizations look at V12, in particular, Veeam Backup and Replication, about really accelerating some of their cloud initiatives, more ransomware capabilities, and reducing that complexity at scale. On this list of these things, does anything stick out to you of interest as we get ready to, talk a little bit more about V12?
Yeah, I would say all of it actually stands out to me. You think about cloud accelerating cloud first initiatives. Utilizing object storage is a great way to get started thinking about the cloud. really being able to store your backups and utilize that object storage scalability with the cloud. And with direct to object storage, now you get object storage can be your first, doesn't have to be just for long-term archival. You can actually store your data there all across the board. And then when you think about ransomware, I mean, this is top of mind for every IT leader today. And, being able to have, immutability from, whether you're using something like the hardened repository or object storage and the direct to object storage feature, having immutability all around, protecting that data from being changed or deleted is definitely very important. And then, we want to make sure they were keeping the product simple for our customers, whether you are a small, medium-sized business, or maybe you're an enterprise, like having those features to make your data protected in a simple way, a flexible way is always important. So I'm excited about V12. We've been talking about it for a long time. And I think that we have some really nice features and enhancements coming to the product.
Yeah, indeed. And you broke the rule, Kirsten. I asked you to pick one, you picked all three. That's the type of thing I would do. So good on you. Good on you. So let's dive into some of those capabilities here real quick. We're going to talk on the rest part of this stream today about direct to object storage, or as I like to passionately call it, let's see if I can do this, D2O, direct to object. Let's see if we can make that stick. But there's a lot of other capabilities that go into it. And we're going to pepper in a couple more of these streams so that we can give the audience a varietal tour of the product, but come back to direct to object storage in a second. Some NAS enhancements, NAS to immutability targets, NAS to tape, things like that. Nice enhancements there. But you know what I like to say, Kirsten? See if you can finish it. Backup for show.
Restore for dough.
That's right. I didn't tell you that was coming. The V11 release, you might remember, released the instant publish of a NAS share as a high-speed recovery technique. But remember, that was read-only. So V12 is actually going to close the loop there and do full migration back, right? So that's awesome. That's awesome. A really cool way to close the loop on a prior innovation. And then scale and optimization of backups. Funny story. I seriously have accidentally introduced myself as Rick Veemover before, but now there's this thing called Veeam Mover, okay? A way that we can rearrange backup data. In fact, I think we have an episode coming in the future just on Vmover. It's really cool. But we're going to talk about the direct to object storage, right? So, direct to object storage, there's really, a question around this. And, Kirsten, you and I both talk to customers and partners in our own Veeam team. We get a lot of questions about object storage. I mean, people want to use it. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I would say everybody wants to use object storage. Just really utilizing those benefits the cloud has to offer, especially when it comes to scalability. And, traditionally we've, thought about object storage as, more for long-term retention. But as, the technology has developed, we're seeing it becoming more performant. And so this is, this model that you have here that you're going to build out for us, Rick, and talk a little bit more about.
Yeah, exactly. And this, I got to give credit to Anthony Spiteri on this one. So let's first kind of see in this little flex capacitor situation, where does object storage sit in the mix here? So a couple characteristics. I mean, Kirsten, I've been working with storage in business IT almost longer than you've been alive. Okay, almost, not quite. But they didn't have object storage when I started in IT. But one characteristic I've learned in this career is that you can have a high amount of capacity with object storage. The public clouds, the hyperscalers, theoretically are infinite. Now, any mathematician in the room will say, no, it is not infinite. And that's true, especially when you think about on-premises unified storage systems. But also with object storage, you can entertain super high bandwidth, right? Well, let's look at door number 2, file system-based storage. Capacity is usually going to be fixed because you're dealing with something that you've purchased in kind of a monolithic manner. And the bandwidth is going to be limited to your network stack on your environment. And then the latency, object storage won't always win the latency war, especially if you think about hyperscale public cloud offsite of a data center. But file systems can be very near the source of the data and entertain better latency performance. And then you can think about block storage. Now, what's really interesting here, Kirsten, is the file system and block storage bandwidth position is the same because they have the same characteristic in that they will be predicated by the networking stack on premises, but they can also entertain super low latency, especially if you think about some of the full flash systems. And then from a capacity, I had a really good manager I used to work with, and this was in a time where we had only invested in block storage. We weren't on the file storage and object storage. We just weren't ready yet at the time. But I had a manager who said, getting storage is not a problem. Getting the money for the storage is the problem, right? So you'll see that capacity kind of come in because a lot of times capacity was the big decision on what you would buy. So really good stuff there. All right, I just got word from the producers that the application is ready. Let's take a look. Wow, we've got a lot going on here. So let's start in the Americas. We've got Canada. That I can see that one without even using my glasses. What else we have, Kirsten? We got Florida, Indiana, Ohio,
Colorado.
Yep, Massachusetts, North Carolina, Mexico, Georgia. I think, yeah, that's good. All right, let's head over to the European EMEA region. Guernsey, a UK island. That specifically might be a first for Guernsey, by the way. Poland, Belgium, Netherlands, France. Nice, nice. And then in Africa, we got Botswana down south. We got Uganda and Algeria as well. We got Peru over in Latin America. Wow, this is great. Thank you, everyone. Let us know. Oh, got the notorious KGG. Jeff Burke is on the call. Shiza, I better behave. Okay, so good stuff. Thank you, everyone, for letting us know where you are from. So now, Kirsten, we talk about why direct object storage, and I built the flex capacitor here.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one other reason, and what is that? And I don't let the let's see, 7 different lockboxes give it away. Why do we want to think about object storage additionally?
Well, this is just going to really provide end-to-end object storage for the scale-out backup repository. You're going to be able to achieve, immutability utilizing things like Amazon S3 object lock and things like that. And what's cool is too is, with this type of structure, you don't necessarily have to utilize the capacity tier anymore if you don't want to. You go straight from performance tier to the archive tier. So that's one of the things that actually takes like my eyes go to immediately with that is, bypassing that tier if you wanted to. There's a lot of different things that we can actually talk about here. I mean, you can use Amazon S3, Azure, Google Cloud, IBM object storage, or even S3 compatible. So if you're utilizing something like a service provider that's, storing your data in an S3 compatible storage, you're going to be able to, utilize that service provider as well and utilize those benefits of that.
Yeah, good points. In fact, anybody who has been following Veeam for a while may notice that the blob storage part here, that's new. That is a new add for immutability there because V12 has it incorporated. The other thing I'll add is these Veeam Ready programs. These are a really good thing to keep in mind, Kirsten, as well. These help drive that customer confidence in the market that these types of repository targets are ready for a different capability. So there's a Veeam Ready repository qualification, a Veeam Ready object qualification, and then a Veeam Ready object with immutability conversation or qualification. And at this time, I believe there's 24, and then in V12, Azure Blob will be number 25, object ready immutability, and then we also have well over 30 object ready repository types. So there's a lot of options. It's not always the public cloud. That's what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
So let's stop talking. Let's get into the demo. I'm sure everybody wants to see this in action.
Well, let's see if I don't mess it up. How about that? Because I messed it up recently. So there we go. So let's start here right in the repository wizard here. So I am in version 12. This is beta 3. We do expect this to be the last beta. with the next milestone being that release candidate to then go to the release to manufacturing, which goes to the partners, right? So we're very, very close. All right, so which on this list on the object storages, what sticks out to you, Kirsten? Pick one and I'll kind of narrate some of the new stuff.
Yeah, so I see it close, there we go. There's the zoom in.
Thank you. Yes.
I would say what sticks out to me is the on-prem immutable object storage.
Yeah, indeed. So there's two things that'll stick out to the
Oh, and
keen.
also
Yeah.
immutable Azure Blob.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, immutability for Azure
that's
version
right.
12. We're pumped over here about that.
Yes, we are. So let's pick two things to zoom in on. I'll talk about these first of all. If anybody has done on-prem unified storage, they'll see that this bucket is now blue. It used to be green, whereas the public AWS is still green as it was. But the reality is what we have here, on-premises unified object storage, and we have something else going on here called this S3 integrated, which leverages something called the Smart Object Storage API, which we expose to partners, storage partners, right? So there's some additional benefits there. But yeah, we definitely see object storage both, and definitely we can still entertain, oh, I'm running out of colors here. Let's go with pink. We can still entertain object storage in the hyperscale public clouds as well as Wasabi, and some of the service providers are offering this, IBM Cloud as well. But all three of these that are selected, these are object ready immutable in the view of V12's GA, with Azure Immutable Blob being the one that doesn't exist today, and then S3 integrated doesn't exist today, but on-prem object storage works as well. So let's just take, how do you use this in a job, right? So if you have a Veeam backup environment, right? So I have a handful of jobs here, and big, easy one here are just VMware VMs going direct to objects. I'll just walk you through this log or this session real quick. It's really simple, Kirsten. All we do is just select that repository. So I guess in the context of a backup job, Kirsten, what is a backup repository? In case anyone's watching and doesn't understand what these Veeam terms are. What's a repo?
Oh, yeah. A backup repository is just a place that we're going to store your backup data. Storage, pretty much. In this situation, it's object storage, but it could be, it could be a lot of different things. It could be, maybe like an Exagrid or Pure Storage, NetApp. We have a lot of storage partners, so it's really what's great about it is you get to choose what you store your data on, because we're storage agnostic. So if you want to go, hey, I'm all object storage all in, you go all object storage in version 12.
Mm-hmm.
If you're thinking I'm going to utilize some of my storage on-prem, you could do that too. So really a lot of flexibility there. And like you mentioned, Rick, throughout the backup job, yeah, it's easy as just adding that backup repository in. But you need to also, configure the scaled backup repository to use that object storage, which is what you're showing here.
Indeed. So the performance tier can be object storage now, which is interesting because the capacity tier, guess what? That can also be object storage as well. And the magic here, Kirsten, is that you could get into S3 standard, S3 infrequent access. You could get into regions and zones. You might want to think about some of the egress and things like that, or transfer fees, sorry. But just this control over the data in the object storage realm, V12 is really, really making it attractive, I'll say. And the one thing, I guess I'm breaking my rule here, I'm not encrypting this backup data into object storage because it's not in the hyperscale public cloud, it's on premises. But generally speaking, if you're putting backup data into the hyperscale public cloud, I generally recommend that you encrypt it with Veeam or Veeam encryption, or someone else will do that for you, which is not a good thing. So keep that in mind if you do put backup data in the hyperscale cloud. This is a beta, this is a lab, so I haven't set that up. But if you, I guess just to close that loop, if you are putting backup data in the capacity tier of the public clouds and you're not encrypting it, it's just as easy as doing that and adding a password if you need to, which is really, really easy in our opinion. Pretty cool stuff, Kirsten. I mean,
Yeah.
also the NAS backup, right? I mentioned kind of that second bullet point, we mentioned that NAS backups were kind of arriving into some additional enhancements, whether it's NAS to tape, NAS to object, NAS to immutable. Here's a pretty cool example. We have this file share, walk through that. Basically, the air data file share is taking the whole thing. I didn't put in any exclusions. Where am I putting it? Putting it in directly into AWS with immutability, for example, right? And I've always had this opportunity to put it into a secondary destination, when NAS backup jobs are out there now, and that could have been object storage. But the other thing to note is that it wasn't a full copy. Previously in object storage, it was kind of only the older ones, right? So this is really clean if you want it in object storage. This is what the market has been wanting. So great stuff. This archive as well, but I didn't set this up in the public cloud yet. But yeah, so this is just some additional logic. If you want to build that 3-2-1 rule into the copy, do it here. I really recommend doing it here. So good stuff. You want me to sneak something else in, Kirsten, since we're in here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. One of the cool things about V12, small but mighty thing, is right here at the top. I want to draw everyone's attention to what's coming here called the Best Practices Analyzer. Now, we actually have a thread internally going, Kirsten, and you're aware of it, of some new ideas for it. And when we had beta 1 to beta 2 to beta 3, we actually have seen more things come in. So, if you're playing with the beta or if you get to GA, hit the Best Practices Analyzer here, and you'll see right away some good, well, let me zoom out so I didn't block one of my good things here. You see right away some cool things. So first of all, I'm doing a configuration backup and I'm encrypting it. I'd argue that's one of the most important things, because if your console fails or cybersecurity incident hits your console, if you have your configuration backup off of it and encrypted, that's really going to help you rebuild. What other on the list above this selection here, Kirsten, what else kind of sticks out to you?
MFA enabled. That's also new in version 12.
Mm-hmm.
We have the immutable media presence. That's passed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some other things on here as well. Password loss protection is enabled. It's not enabled. We're seeing hey, you're violating. And what's great is a lot of these things are going to help with security as well. So you want to make your backup server, secure, your backup storage secure. This is going to help with that, especially maybe you weren't the person who set up the backup server. So maybe you just came into this environment and now you can say, okay, let's check the best practice analyzer. Oh, I got to go in there and set some of this stuff up, make sure that my my server's secure, my data is going to be secure. I have immutability set up and things like that. So
yeah,
pretty
so
cool stuff. Yeah.
I just turned off the config backup. And so right away, this will instantly tell you, remember, the config backup wasn't done, right? So it's a real-time assessor of your environment. So some of these things, it's like, okay, done. I turn the config backup back on. And now when I go back up to Best Practices Analyzer, these two should have been fixed. So it's pretty responsive in that regard, which I think is cool. And if I look at these 4 that aren't, in play, this one would be a pretty important one. So that would come with Enterprise Manager. These are just footprint for the infrastructure, right? So that's an easy set of fixes as well. But if you do one thing, do immutability. Good stuff. All right, well, let's head back over to the map real quick, and I'm gonna pick up some of the comments. HO, I'm gonna just go with the initials because I can't pronounce that. Says this is perfect for S3 outsourcing. Great stuff. HO again loves that Best Practices Analyzer. Thank you so much. So new stuff. We've added Texas in the US. That sticks out pretty big. We've also got Ireland, Germany, Azerbaijan, and Hungary. Was in Hungary last year. Beautiful country. We've also added in South America. We've added Argentina and Brazil. And then we have added Egypt in Africa. So thank you so much. Joe D says, thanks, Veeam. So many webinars in a day. Great presentation. Glad you guys enjoy this stuff. So Awesome. So Kirsten, anything else we want to kind of wrap up with? Any comments or anything else on the direct object storage that we should cover?
Um, I think we pretty much got it all, Rick. This is exciting for all of us. And what's great too, Veeam One is actually going to be able to monitor all this as well.
Yeah.
So if you're not monitoring your backups, Veeam One's there, got your back. You're going to be able to, monitor object storage, monitor data offload, and different things like that. So, we'll have to do a Veeam One, what's new, tech bites next, because I know I'm excited for version 12 and I can
Yeah,
talk about it all day.
definitely. That and the orchestrator kind of rounding out the platform. And I guess the last thought I just thought about with direct object storage is that each of these backups are fully self-describing and recoverable, right? So, that's important. And they're performant. We can still do instant recovery, right? So you don't really lose anything. So that is, that's why we do this. We want this storage agnosticism, this flexibility, et cetera, et cetera. So awesome. So hey, Kirsten, thank you so much for rocking this out with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rick.
All right, a big thanks to our producers, Catronell in Europe, and then Will and Mark over in the Americas, as well as to countless other Veeam people help bring these productions to us. I'm so grateful to have them working for us in this regard. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned for more of the V12 ramp up series on the Tech Byte Show. Have a great week.